In a faraway kingdom, there was a Tsar named Vislav Andronovich. He had 3 sons, Dmitri, Vasily, and the youngest, Ivan. The Tsar owned a garden so grand that there was no garden in any country in the world that could compare with it. In the middle of the garden stood his most precious tree, one that grew golden apples. But then a firebird became a regular visitor to Tsar Vislav's garden. It had golden feathers, and its eyes were like oriental crystals. This magical bird flew to the garden every night and sat on Tsar Vislav's favorite apple tree. Please, if you liked it, don't forget to subscribe and give it a thumbs up. It sat for a while, lighting up the garden with a golden glow, before nibbling at some apples. The firebird then plucked a particularly large one, gripped it tightly in its talons, and flew away. Tsar Vislav became more and more upset because every night he lost more and more of his golden apples. Eventually he called his 3 sons to him and said, "Whoever succeeds shall have half my kingdom now, and the rest when I am gone." His children, the princes, cried out with one voice, "Dear father, your royal majesty, we will do our utmost to catch the firebird alive." On the first night, Prince Dmitri went to keep watch in the garden and sat under the apple tree from which the firebird was picking apples. Unfortunately, he fell asleep and did not hear how the magical bird flew in and picked a great many apples. In the morning, Tsar Vislav Andronovich called his son Dmitri to him. "Well, my dear son, have you seen the firebird or not?" Dmitri answered. "No, my dear Lord Father. She did not fly in last night." The next night, Prince Vasily went into the garden to watch for the firebird. He sat under the same apple tree and, after sitting for an hour or 2, fell soundly asleep. He, too, did not hear the firebird fly in and nibble on the apples. In the morning, Tsar Vislav called him and asked, "Well, my dear son, have you seen the firebird or not, dear Sir Father?" "She did not fly in last night." On the 3rd night, Prince Ivan went into the garden to keep watch and sat under the same apple tree. He sat there for an hour, then another, and then another. Suddenly the whole garden lit up as if by a great star. The firebird flew in, sat on the apple tree, and began to pluck the apples. Ivan crept up to it so skillfully that he grabbed it by the tail. However, he wasn't able to hold on to it. The firebird broke free and flew away. Ivan was left with only 1 feather from the tail in his hand. In the morning, as soon as Tsar Vislav awoke from his sleep, Ivan gave him a feather from the firebird. Tsar Vislav was very happy that his youngest son managed to get at least 1 feather from the firebird. This feather was so wonderful and bright that if you brought it into a dark room, it would shine as if a great many candles were lit in that room. Tsar Vislav put that feather in his study as a thing that should be kept forever. After losing a feather, the firebird did not fly into the garden again. Tsar Vislav again called his children to him and said to them, "My dear children, go on a journey, find the firebird and bring it to me alive. And as I promised before, the one who brings the firebird to me will receive half of my kingdom." Dmitri and Vasily were already jealous of their younger brother Ivan because he had managed to pull a feather from the tail of the firebird. They took a blessing from their father and went off together to find the magical bird. And Ivan also began to ask his father for a blessing for this. Tsar Vislav said to him, "My dear son, my dear child, you are still young and not used to such a long and difficult journey. Why leave me? What if all 3 of you do not return for a long time? I am already old. What if God, in his wisdom, calls to the next world while you are gone? The kingdom will be left without a ruler." But try as he might, he could not dissuade young Ivan from trying his hand at finding the firebird, and he too set out on his way. Along his journey, Ivan came to a sign with 3 directions. Straight ahead promised hunger and cold. The right promised to cost him his horse but spare his life, and the left threatened to take his life but spare his horse. Ivan chose the right path. After riding for many days, a great gray wolf jumped out in front of weary Ivan. Said the wolf, "Oh, you goy," which is something like "Your Highness. Did you not read the sign that said you would lose your horse if you came this way?" Replied Ivan, "I did, Sir Wolf, but it was better than freezing to death or losing my life." And as soon as he said those words, the horse threw him to the ground and ran off.